So when you first start paddleboarding, you're bound to make some mistakes and create some bad habits without proper instruction. I myself am no exception to this, and when I first started paddleboarding, I also made a lot of mistakes and created some bad habits. So today I'm going to share with you some tips to help you avoid making some of these mistakes or to help you fix some of these bad habits that you created. So let's get started. So one of the first mistakes that I made when I first started paddleboarding, and a lot of beginners paddlers make, is when they're paddling in the water, they actually paddle way too far past their feet. The reason you don't want to be doing this or creating this bad habit or technique is because when you paddle past your feet, you're actually wasting so much energy. As I've talked about in some other videos, all paddleboard paddles have a curve to their blade. And when this curve or when your blade reaches your feet, you'll notice that it's actually at a complete vertical angle. So any paddling you do past your feet, your angle is now negative. You're actually pushing yourself down in the water versus pulling yourself forward. This is why it's so important when you're paddling to actually focus on the front area of your paddleboard when you're paddling, so the area in front of your feet. So when you go for your next stroke, you actually enter the water towards the front of your paddleboard, bring the blade back to your feet, and when you reach your feet, you want to start exiting your blade out of the water. And once again, reaching forward to the front of your paddleboard, paddling back to your feet, then exiting the water. That way, every single stroke you're making is all positive energy or energy that you're applying towards you paddling forward in the water versus pushing yourself down. This may feel a little bit unnatural at first, but once your body gets used to this rhythm and to this motion, you'll notice that you'll paddle much farther, have way more energy, and have a way funner time paddling. So the next big mistake I made when I first started paddleboarding is actually using all my arm muscles to paddle through the water. So every time I was making a paddle stroke in the water, I was using my biceps mostly just to pull that paddle to me through the water as I was paddling along. This seems like a very natural thing to do at first, but it's actually a really bad habit to create when you're stand-up paddleboarding. Paddleboarding is actually a full body workout. And so if I'm paddling along, just using my arm muscles to pull me through the water, I'm actually gonna get tired more quickly because I'm using smaller muscles to pull me through the water. The better technique to be using is using the larger muscles in your body, such as your legs and your abdominal muscles. So in order to use these larger muscles while paddling, we have to change our technique a little bit to be more improved. So versus standing straight up on your paddleboard, using all your arm muscles to pull you through the water, you actually want to have relaxed legs, and your top arm is going to reach over almost to the top of your head, bringing your paddle to a vertical stance, and that bottom arm is straight, allowing me to reach as far as I can forward. Then this is where I'm really using my hips to connect my abdominal muscles and my leg muscles to pull me through the water. So as I'm paddling my right side, my hips kind of shift a little bit to the left to give my paddle a more vertical entrance in the water. Then when I grab that water, I'm actually hinging my hips a little bit to make use of my leg muscles and my abdominal muscles to pull me to the paddle through the water. And as we just talked about, exiting that paddle near my feet. So once again, bring that top arm over, bottom arm straight out, reaching forward, entering the water, hinging my hips just a little bit to make use of my leg muscles and abdominal muscles, using those muscles to pull me to that paddle blade, and then exiting the water at my feet again. Now this technique will take time and practice doing on the water, but once your body gets used to doing this technique, you'll notice you'll be paddling so much faster and with so much more ease as you're using those larger muscles versus those smaller muscles on your body. Another very common mistake for first-time paddlers is having their paddle set way too short of height for their body. When your paddle is set too short, you're doing a lot of things that are actually bad for you. One, you're causing yourself to hunch more over in order to reach your paddle blade in the water, causing more damage to your back and to your shoulders. And it's also making it harder for you to balance on the paddleboard because you're reaching more forward, causing your center of gravity to be further off of your feet. The simple fix to the problem is having your paddle set to one shaka above your head, or more or less where your arm is almost straight, but still has some flex to it. By having your paddle set to the correct height, you'll have better posture and paddle form on your paddleboard and have better balance. It's a simple and easy fix, and by doing it, you notice a huge improvement in your paddleboarding experience. And my last tip or piece of advice is to help all you bouncers out there. Yes, you know who you are, and I was one of those people when I first started paddleboarding. A lot of beginners, when they get used to paddleboarding, are ready to try to start paddling faster, have this idea that if they jump up and down with their knees or their legs, they're able to get their paddle in and out of the water faster, allowing them to go quicker in the water. When in reality, you're wasting so much energy bouncing up and down with your legs, rather than translating that energy into your paddle stroke in the water. So a better way to paddle quicker without wasting energy jumping up and down is to have a proper stance on your paddleboard, as I've talked about in some other videos, which means you have your relaxed legs, you're setting up for your stroke, entering the water towards the front of your board, bringing the blade back to your feet, and when you get back to your feet, using your upper body to bring that blade back out of the water, coming back forward again, entering the water, bring the blade back to your feet, using your upper body and your hips to pull that blade out of the water, setting back up for the paddle stroke once again. You'll notice that whole stroke is more of a fluid motion coming to your feet, exiting the water, going back to the front of your board again, versus an up and down motion, wasting so much energy in your leg muscles. By doing this technique, you'll save so much energy and you'll be able to put more force or more energy into each paddle stroke versus wasting it on your leg muscles. Now obviously there's so many other paddleboard techniques to learn, and I highly recommend you take a class if you haven't already. By doing this, you'll learn so many more techniques, and it'll also help you prevent from creating some bad habits in your paddleboarding form. Later this year, I actually have plans to release a full Intro to Stand-Up Paddleboarding online class. So if you're interested in that, be sure you subscribe to the channel to make sure you receive updates when that course is released. I hope you guys found this video helpful though, and if you did, be sure to go check out the channel for more content like this, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Hasta luego, amigos.